Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the comfy confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey on a nice, warm, and temperate day. I hope you guys are enjoying it and enjoying this morning, whether you're on your work commute or working out or on your day off or just enjoying your day. I hope that you guys are sitting back enjoying the show. I thank you yesterday for the love, support, and everybody. I wanted really, truly, it was tremendous. Again, like, share, and subscribe if you are interested into the content or interested in the show, or just to more or less help the show progress forward. This is something I'm going to be doing every day, and I just thank you guys so much for the love and support. Ultimately, I want to jump right into things. I want to start off first by giving a shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles for re-signing Devontae Smith, 3-year deal, $51 million guaranteed. Ecstatic. This was a move that needed to happen. This was something that had to happen. To keep that offense progressing forward, you needed Smitty in there. Smitty has been one of the best wide receivers in the NFL since he's been drafted in the 2021 season, 12th pick, coming out of Alabama. Anyone who knows me knows I said I would walk to Philadelphia and choke the hell out of Howie Roseman if he did not draft Smitty. So signing him to this deal and getting him back in the building and keeping this offense together and potentially for the next 3 to 4 years, it's exciting. It's exciting. Now, whether Nick Sirianni's a coach or not, criticism unfair or not, it will remain to be seen. Getting, the defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, getting in Kellen Moore, we'll see. We'll see how this all works out. I hope that it leads to something, but ultimately getting Smitty back in the building was huge, and it was needed. So shout out to the Birds, shout out to Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie for you guys, keeping it going, and fly Eagles fly. Now, having said all that out of my Eagles fandom, let's get to 32 teams in 13 days again. We're now addressing the New England Patriots, who by all counts and measures had one of the worst years in their team's history. No stretch of the imagination, was safe to say. 4-13 was fucking dreadful. It was bad. It was bad. It's not the standard Bill Belichick or, Robert Kraft has set for the team. But I guess, we all kind of keep in mind dynasties. When you get to a point where a dynasty has reached that peak, the only place left is down. No Tom Brady, a lot of free agents, a lot of veterans going. Mac Jones didn't really make the next step. Having him, his game, stunted by guys that aren't offensive coaches, Joe Judge, Matt Patricia. That just didn't help in any way, shape, or form. And then having Bill O'Brien last year just kind of more or less felt like they were bailing water. They were the boat was sinking, and they were just trying to get as much water off the boat as possible. Too late, Having said that, now with that being said, there's a new change in the guard. So you have Gerard Mayo in as head coach. You have Elliott Wolf in as the GM. New offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt, and defensive coordinator DeMarcus Covington. To kind of wrap all this up in a nutshell, front office-wise and coaching-wise, Gerard Mayo had been there for the past 5 years. He's pretty much a Belichick acolyte. He's a guy that they pretty much have wanted to take the reins or, take the mantle once Belichick was gone. So it's not a shock there for me. That was something we all knew was possibly going to be happening. They threatened possibly reviewing other candidates, but, who else better than your own? Alex Van Pelt. I'm actually a low-key fan of Alex Van Pelt. He was the quarterback's coach for the Green Bay Packers a few years ago. For the past 4 years, he was quarterback's coach for the Cleveland Browns. Solid guy, he knows the position, knows the offense, knows how to get an offense ran well. Aaron Rodgers had an MVP season under his tutelage. Aaron Rodgers vouches for this guy highly. Alex Van Pelt is one of those guys, is well respected in the NFL, well touted, good coach, somebody who the Patriots definitely needed. I would consider an upgrade to Bill O'Brien. DeMarcus Covington, I would literally tell you guys from the research that I've done, young guy, exciting, very anxious to see how he has his defense looking, but it's ultimately going to be a carbon copy of what Gerard Mayo and Belichick ran. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, this defense was ranked 15th, and I need you to understand, they lost Christian Gonzalez. They had injuries on the defensive line. Linebacker play was horrible for them, and they still ranked 15th. So, testament, Bill Belichick, testament to Gerard Mayo, testament to that coaching staff for at least having their defense prepared. Offensively, though, it's a lot to be left desired, a lot. Cap space, they have about $53 million going to cap space. That started from around 57 to 60 some odd million. They had to spend the money, so ultimately it's not like a woohoo, but God bless them, because they have to reshape the whole roster. Everything needs to be redone again. Looking at some of their transactions, Trey Nixon, restricted free agent, they was able to retain him. The unrestricted free agents, the J.C. Jacksons, Ezekiel Elliott, Lawrence Guys, Adrian Phillips, these guys are already long gone. Guys that left in like February, early parts of March, already out of the building. New regime, new focus. Terez Hall, I believe as well, they may have re-signed already, but I'll get that back for you before the end of this episode. Kyle Duggar, another guy they need to bring back. I mean, this guy has, over 300 tackles. I mean, he's a box safety linebacker, hybrid style of player, sets the edge, tackling machine, gets you a decent amount of sacks, much needed. And again, when you're in New England, you want to set the precedent that we pay the guys that play well, So again, great move for them. Looking at their free agent acquisitions, where they spent some of that $57 million in cap space, left a little bit to be desired, I must say. I was kind of shocked. I was a bit shocked that they weren't able to secure more free agents or better, higher tier free agents. But again, when you stink and you're not really that good and you're picking third, it's kind of self-explanatory. Jalen Hawkins was safety they picked up. They picked up the wide receiver KJ Osborne from the Vikings. They also picked up veteran tight end Austin Hooper who played for Browns and played several other teams. He played for Falcons as well. Good tight end, serviceable. Antonio Gibson was running back in Washington. They just brought him over. They brought in offensive tackle Chukwuma Okorafor, which again, solid guy. Jacoby Brissett, bridge quarterback, the veteran guy who is not really a starter, but somebody who's going to help, get it going for the next guy, set the table, play setter, I should say, for lack of better words. They brought in Sione Takitaki. Forgive me if I spelled that wrong. It's either Shone or Sione Takitaki, linebacker from Cleveland. Guy's been a backup guy, special teams. He's a hitter. This guy that'll come in and do his job, no questions asked. And they also brought in defensive lineman Armand Watts. Again, nothing here that screams all in. Nothing here that screams they're turning the corner, they're turning the page, they're making great advancements to be a 12-win team. This team's not going to the playoffs. I mean, I don't know if you guys know or not, but Vegas has them slotted at 4.5 wins over under. Vegas has tended to been wrong at times, we all know, but having an over under at 4.5, you're expected to be pretty bad. They were able to retain the likes of veterans like Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Tyrone Wheatley Jr., and Josh Uche. Guys that have been good for them, guys that have been serviceable, guys that have done what's required, what's been needed. So, again, when you're a rebuilding team and you're trying to reset a culture, the Patriot way, or whatever the hell they call it now, you need guys like this that's going to be in the locker room, that's going to be accountable, that's going to make sure they do what's required. No punches, no BS, no frills. Do what's asked, do the work. Leading that into their draft and kind of, more or less things where they need to really, really address. They were very undisciplined. For a Bill Belichick team last year, it was very shocking to see them have 89 penalties for 676 yards, which means you're just shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, hell, there's no way you could sustain drives or games like that. It's a ton of penalty yards, and that's a lot for a Bill Belichick team, which was kind of a sign that maybe the wheels had ran off or the end was near. So be that as it may. Offense was ranked 31st. Yeah, I mean, you're averaging 19.5 points a game. In a league where you got teams averaging 32 to 35, your top echelon offenses, that's not getting it done. That's not getting it done. Going into it, obviously, they have holes everywhere. Draft needs. They're definitely going to need an offensive line, definitely going to need a receiver, definitely going to need a quarterback. Obviously, that's why they're picking third. They have holes everywhere. Like I stated previously, defense is still solid. You got Christian Gonzalez coming back. They got a lot of guys coming back, just, re-signs, injuries, guys healing up from last year. They're going to need that defense to be strong to carry this offense, because I don't believe, even if you get a young quarterback, which I'll touch on next, even if you get a young quarterback, even having Jacoby Brissett, you need a defense that's going to hold guys so that way the burden's not on him to score 28 points a game. Jacoby Brissett's not giving you 28 to 30 points a game. Hell, I'm not even expecting whatever rookie they draft to do that. So you need that defense strong and fortified so that way it can kind of carry the team until the offense finds its way at some point throughout the year. Offensive philosophy, being with Alex Van Pelt, kind of briefly touched on that, but West Coast guy, the offense should definitely improve. No more Bill O'Brien, so I guess that's a plus in itself. Because I'll be completely honest with you, full disclosure, I thought Bill O'Brien fucking sucked when he was with Houston. I thought for you to have D Hop and DeAndre Hopkins, and to have Deshaun Watson, to have Laramie Tunzel, yeah, he made horrible decisions, with running back. I still remember the David Johnson trade, which was, we kind of forget about it because a lot more horrible and regrettable moves have been made since then. But that was still one of those moves where it was like, I believe it was David Johnson they had traded for. It was just, why would you trade for a 30-year-old running back who, Bill O'Brien sucks. So looking at that, the New England Patriots are definitely going to have to retool, revitalize, and renew. Interested to see how Elliott Wolf runs this organization. He's the son of Ron Wolf, former Packers GM, former Packers great GM. I might add that. But it's gonna be very interesting because I'm not really thrilled with the free agent signings. I'm not really thrilled. But again, solid. You're not expecting this team to win 11 games this year. You're just expecting them to be competent enough to play decent football. So be that as it may, still a lot of work to be done. I think looking at their draft needs, touching on the draft, they had several quarterbacks come in. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, Joe Milton, Spencer Rattler. They've had a lot of quarterbacks come in, a lot of receivers coming as well. Xavier Leggett, Brendan Rice. You've had Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, just to name a few off the top of the head. A lot of receivers coming in. A lot of offensive linemen, to name a few off the top of the head. Joe Alt, Fashanu from Penn State, Patrick Paul from Houston. You clearly see with a lot of these top 30 visits and the guys that I'm mentioning, they're really trying to implement something new, a new culture, some physicality. I like the linemen that they brought in for the visits. These guys are maulers. I mean, wherever these guys go, the teams will be happy with the offensive line picks. Fashanu, Paul, Joe Alt. I mean, these are guys you're talking about possibly 10-year starters. So if you're in New England, couldn't go wrong with the lineman, but which leads me to my point, you got to make the quarterback your pick. You cannot... You're 3-4 years removed from Tom Brady leaving. That's all people know. Sorry, New England fans, y'all been spoiled. 20 plus years of success, sustained success at that. Yeah, you've been spoiled. You didn't expect Mac Jones to necessarily be Tom Brady, but you expected him to carry it forward. Belichick, shit the bed on that one. Be that as it may, he didn't do what was required or what was necessary, so that kind of cost the team, whatever. But ultimately, they're doing a lot of visits with quarterbacks, receivers, offensive linemen. So definitely going to be a whole new team for New England. Definitely new skill position guys. I tend to think that the pick is going to be Drake May. I'm not, and again, as I said in the previous episode, guys, I'm not really sold on Drake May. I don't think Drake May is a great quarterback. I think the year prior, he played very, very well. He played very elite football. I think this year it kind of came down to earth. Some tape was on him, a little bit of pressure, kind of maybe playing not to get injured or playing to put the perfect tape out there. I don't know, but I'm not really a huge fan of Drake May, but it seems like I think the inclination might be that may be the pick. And again, if they get Drake May, that leads you to believe with as many picks as they have, as I stated, they have 8 picks in this draft, they're going to do some movement to get more skill position guys, linemen, because they have holes everywhere, and they need guys to come in and immediately step in and play. Now, with that being said, we're now leading into our, for me, this is kind of a touchy subject, but we're leading into the Arizona Cardinals, who are also a 4-13 team. Now, you're probably wondering, why is this a touchy subject for me? Jonathan Gannon. As an Eagles fan, anybody who knows, Jonathan Gannon was the architect of that Super Bowl defense, that historic defense that registered 70-some-odd sacks that threatened that old 85 Bears record. I, as an Eagles fan, will always tell you, I'm forever indebted for any coach that helps us get to a Super Bowl or that partakes or plays a pivotal role, in us winning. I'll always give credit and kudos for that. Having said that, the way Jonathan Gannon was leaving was quite revealing, very messed up, and Dan Fonse screwed us. It screwed us defensively last year. Be that as it may, the Cardinals, second year for Jonathan Gannon as head coach, second year for his offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, and second year for defensive coordinator, Nick Rallis. Petzing, I've done a little bit of research on him myself. He worked as quarterbacks coach in Cleveland, also worked as quarterbacks coach in Minnesota. So he worked with Jacoby Brissett, worked with Kirk Cousins. He's helped these guys register career years, put up very good numbers, passer rating, yards, completion percentage. Wherever you name or you look, they with this guy, these numbers improve. So I completely understand what it is. They're trying to get the best out of Kyler Murray. Kyler's healthy. I kind of thought going into this season they may have been still lingering as a quarterback. Quarterback might be a thing, but again, when you're paying a quarterback like Kyler Murray the money that they're paying, and again, he's not horrible. It's not like he's ass. It's a situation where he's small and he's diminutive, but he's fast and he's accurate, and the offensive line is trash. Now, you got Paris Campbell last year, so that helped, but they're going to need more. Obviously, they're going to need more. Looking at Monty Ossenfort, again, second-year GM, Monty is known for making a ton of trades. Monty is trade. That's all Monty Ossenfort knows how to do is trade. So I expect them to do a lot of movement, especially being that they have 11, and I will reiterate, 11 picks going into this draft. You have 2 first-round picks, you have 3 third-round picks, and you have 2 fifth-round picks, which, again, they need them. They only won 4 games last year. They were pretty bad defensively. Offensively, they were inconsistent. Again, when you don't have your star quarterback, you got Josh Dobbs, pretty much, quarterback by committee. There wasn't too much consistency on offense for them last year. So take that with a grain of salt. Top 3 needs for the team, definitely going forward, would be wide receiver, cornerback, and edge rusher. They never replaced Hassan Reddick since he left. They haven't replaced DeAndre Hopkins since he left. And Lord knows corner, they've hemorrhaged that since, the days of Patrick Peterson. The moment he started losing a step, and then they decided, well, we can get off him because financially he's costing us too much. They haven't replaced him. So with that being said, they were ranked offensively 24th last year, which, again, I reiterated was terrible. But when you don't have your starting quarterback and your offensive line is bad, that kind of self-explanatory. Defense, they were 31st. And for Jonathan Gannon, that says a lot. For his defense to be ranked 31st, that means a lot of guys are missing assignments, a lot of missed tackles, a lot of missed plays. So I want to give him credit, understanding that it's his first year. You're not expecting guys to step up and be great right away, but damn. Stats kind of lie. Looking at the tape, they were in a lot of games. They played very physical. Played the Giants well, played Dallas well, beat Dallas, beat Philadelphia late in the year, after they were down by 21. This team has the capability to be a lot better than what their record indicated last year, and even possibly indicating this year. As long as Kyler Murray's healthy, James Conner is coming back, getting a little old, 28, 1,000-yard season last year. He gave you 7 touchdowns, 1,040 yards, but you need to possibly start looking for that replacement. He's been consistent for you, James Conner. His story's been great, beating cancer and overcoming all these coming out of Pitt, but yeah, it's starting to get to that point now where it's like, yeah, we might need to start, drafting his replacement, his heir apparent. Touching on some other points, offense needs to be explosive. Again, ranked 24th, the quarterback carousel that they had last year, a.k.a. the vortex of fuckery, where it's just this guy. None of it was conducive to them winning substantial games or any games that would have put them in playoff competition, especially in the NFC West when you got the Rams, 11-win team, 49ers, 11-12 win team, Seattle, 7-9 win team. If you're Arizona, you're scraping. You're scraping. You're definitely at the bottom, but you're just clawing to get up there, As stated, the running back is probably going to be a point of emphasis being that, James Conner is 28, getting a little bit older. It's not old, and again, solid year last year, but you want to kind of start replacing that stable. So I would look for them between rounds 2 and 4 to look at a running back, so keep that in mind. Defense has to be better overall. When you're ranked 31st, it's self-explanatory. You couldn't stop a nosebleed. So it's pretty much where the issue for them, though, wasn't just overall. Like, looking at the raw numbers, looking at the stats as I did yesterday, the issue was that they were horribly situationally. You sucked on 3rd and 4th down. Hell, you only have 4 downs. If you are bad on 1st and 2nd, but you're great on 3rd and 4th, teams will let that slide. Coaches could live with that. You can learn to make that work. When you suck on all 4 downs, you can't stop anybody. You can't stop them from getting a yard. You can't stop them from getting 15 yards. Hell, you can't stop them from getting 25 yards. your defense is trash. So that's something they're going to have to address, definitely. But I'm pretty sure with Jonathan Gannon, with his mindset coming from the Mike Zimmer system, doing what he did in Philadelphia, coming here now, he'll have those guys ready to play. They never got off the field. I mean, that's really what the issue was. I mean, when you don't get off the field, your defense is playing all the time. You're tired. You're dragging. You're never really getting that extra step that you need. So they're going to have to definitely make more acquisitions on the defensive, backfield, like I said, corner, edge rusher, just something to improve to make that defense more fearful or to give teams that element of, we're going to attack you and we're going to hit you from all angles, kind of what Jonathan Gannon was known to doing in his prior two locations. Tight end is definitely an option in the mid rounds. They have not had a tight end. As I stated, the corpse known as Zach Ertz is no longer there. He's in Washington now. He played for Arizona for a long while. Did his thing. And again, you had Dan Arnold for a while. I guess that experiment didn't work. I don't know really what the hell Arizona's doing with the tight end position. They seem to find tight ends, and then within 2 years, they just stop giving them the ball or guys get injured. Be that as it may, it's something they need to address. Expect that to be addressed in the mid rounds. Without this being stated, I think I just touched on this a couple minutes ago, but they cannot, if there's any position that they cannot leave this draft without. Most people would say wide receiver, and understandably so, picking where they're picking. They're going to get Marvin Harrison. They're going to get Malik Neighbors. They're going to have to pick it a lot. I get it. They can't leave this draft without a corner. I touched on this to start the segment, but they have not had an elite corner since Patrick Peterson. That was several years ago. And even several years ago, Patrick Peterson was playing at a level where it was still decent enough. I mean, hell, he was playing with the Steelers last year. That was the worst he's looked, and he still played decent. So you ultimately got rid of a guy that you never really replaced. You never really had the proper tools or draft capability to replace. And when you did draft, you drafted horribly. So definitely interested to see how Monty Ossenfort addresses that, because they can't leave this draft without a corner. It's paramount. I mean, they gave up so many yards. It was just, ugh. Looking at their top 30 visits for the draft, looking at how they prepared, definitely running back was one of their first visits, which wasn't a shock again. James Conner, 28 years old, 1,040 yards, 7 touchdowns. You need to start replacing that position. We all know as the running backs start to get into close to 30 or a little after 30, the wheels are falling off, excuse me. Ray Davis and Dylan Johnson. Dylan Johnson from Washington, Ray Davis from Kentucky, running backs that they brought in for top 30 visits. I like Ray Davis a lot. I definitely can see Ray Davis as a guy they could possibly grab second, third round. I won't lie to you guys. I don't think he will be around for the third round. I think he'll be there in the second. So, receiver, as I previously stated, Brendan Rice, Marvin Harrison Jr., Xavier Worthy, Roma Dunze, Jacob Cowing from Arizona, which, pretty decent young guy. I watched a couple of Arizona games. He was good for them last year. They Malik Neighbors, Jalen McMillan from Washington, big body, big frame wide receiver. Again, they need a receiver. You don't even have Hollywood Brown. He's in Kansas City this year, so you need a receiver. That's without saying. Offensive tackle, which was quite surprising because they hit last year with Paris Campbell pick. That selection definitely worked out for him. I was kind of shocked that they didn't recruit or view or visit with more linemen going into this draft, but I guess, you kind of know you need skill position guys. J.C. Latham from Alabama was a tackle that they brought in for a visit. They also brought in the center Charles Turner III from LSU. Again, good lineman, great center, great tackle, but you kind of need another tackle on that right side. I see the J.C. Latham. I see Charles Turner, your guard play. I mean, I need to reiterate this again. I'm going to come a little closer, maybe y'all can hear me. Kyler Murray is a small, diminutive quarterback. He's accurate. He's fast. He's agile. He's going to get killed behind that garbage-ass offensive line. So I like the fact that the visits kind of snitch a little bit on the team. Some of it is deflection. Some of it is this is who we're really looking at. Looking at it, you can look at a ton of these wide receivers, and yes, some of these guys are definitely going to help with Kyler Murray, but I'll reiterate this. Something I remember from my own playing days growing up, Little League and high school. The battles are won in the trenches. If you don't have an offensive line, I digress. So, They brought in defensive ends, Latu Latu. I like him a lot from UCLA. They brought in Taylor Upshaw from Arizona. Also brought in interior defensive lineman Christian Boyd from Northern Iowa. Again, you clearly see that defensively where Jonathan Gannon is going. He's not dumb. He had Fletcher Cox. He had Javon Hargrave. He had Daniil Hunter in Minnesota. He had guys that can attack the edge and attack the interior that could definitely get to the quarterback. That's what he's looking to implement now going into this season with his new defense. Chop Robinson, Dallas Turner. Guys that that have been brought in for visits. I'm very much excited to see how they address the defense because, as I just previously stated, cornerback is a position they cannot leave this draft without addressing. And they've addressed several visits. You've had Nehemiah Pritchett from Auburn, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. from Louisville, good young corner. I like him a lot. Andrew Phillips from Kentucky, another good young corner, and my man Terry Arnold from Alabama. So they definitely are addressing. It kind of, looking at their pre-draft visits, it's kind of evident they're looking at receiver and cornerback. Being honest with you, it's the NFL. They probably want to go receiver with their first pick. If it's not Marvin Harrison Jr., wow. Hopefully they get either Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. But I kind of tend to think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the pick. There's no reason you would pass up on a guy that elite. Especially Kyler Murray needs a guy like that too. So, yeah. Now, thank you for listening to that 32 teams, 13 days segment. Now we're going to lead into spring football games. College football season, baby. It's almost back. I'm just to let you guys know so that way because you'll be seeing this content pop up. I am a diehard Florida State Seminoles fan. Go Noles. Whoa. Tomahawk them. So, Tomahawks up. Anyway, needless to say, my Noles, unfortunately, don't have their spring game until the 20th. So, nonetheless, I told you guys yesterday we're going to be covering all teams, college, NFL, NBA. So we want to definitely start touching the college teams today, and I want to address some of the notes and things that I noticed during the spring games from the various teams. I won't lie, I didn't cover every single solitary team. Purdue's missing, Miami's missing. I tried to kind of cover more or less the top teams and more popular teams I know people will be looking for. I will cover the ACC. As previously stated, I'm a Florida State fan, so I will be covering Miami's spring game from a couple days ago. Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, I'll be addressing all of those. I just more or less wanted to give you an outline of what this segment will be looking like and more or less how I'll be reviewing the players and, things for the upcoming, things to know for the upcoming college football season. Having said that, we're going to start off with the Clemson Tigers. Boo. But Clemson, defense looked real good. They were aggressive rushing to the football. A couple players that stood out to me, quarterback Trent Pierman, linebacker Sammy Brown, Jamal Anderson Jr., Dirty Bird, Jamal Anderson Jr., yeah, his son playing linebacker. He had a great play, made an interception in that game. Wide receiver Bryant Wesco. And I kind of, with Clemson, whether it's Hunter Renfrow, DeAndre Hopkins, you name it, there's always a guy that comes out of there that's just serviceable, does his job, and it's just top fucking notch. So shout out to them for that. Also, Jaheim Lawson, defensive end, he played very well for him too. Like I said, bits of news and notes from Clemson. They look good. They look aggressive. Offensively, if they have Pierman in there, it looks like they may have a chance. The quarterback, Chubnik, the guy, and I'm butchering his name, please forgive me. The guy that they have in there currently, from what I saw, he ain't cutting mustard. So, if they want any shot at really winning this year, it looks like Pierman may have to be the quarterback. Next team following up with that is NC State Wolfpack. Quarterback, Grayson McCall, and Lex Thomas and CJ Bailey. They all kind of got touches. Wolfpack played very well down the stretch last year. More or less, they needed stronger or sturdier, for lack of better words, quarterback play. They needed more consistency from that position. They got a nice little battle on their hands, guys. Like I said, Grayson McCall, Lex Thomas, and CJ Bailey, they all played well. They all put up decent numbers. They actually combined, all three of them, 492 passing yards. Even for a spring game, you damn near throwing for 500 yards is pretty good. Wide receiver-wise, Justin Jolly, Noah Rogers, standouts for them. Guys just keep an eye on, especially Justin Jolly. He looked pretty good. Running back, I'll be honest with you. It's kind of weird how in college football, some teams always end up with the dynamic dual backs or dual threat quarterback, running back type system. NC State, again, living up to that mantra and motto. They have Jordan Waters and Hollywood Smothers. Yes, that is a name for you to definitely write down, Hollywood Smothers. Dynamic backs, from what I saw in the practice, elusive, shifty, can hit the hole hard, and definitely can create, yards, after, tackle. So, I mean, that's again, you need that from that running back position, yards after contact, excuse me, for lack of better words. You would definitely want your, a guy getting 3 to 5 yards after contact. That's always tremendous. So, looks like they may be pretty good in that position. Special teams, was shocking that you see it in a spring game, special teams playing at a high level, but the special teams was very good. Again, NC State is going to be one of those teams that's going to be tough. They're going to be in it. They're going to be competing. They're going to be fighting. They're going to be there. Having said that, we're going to switch to some SEC ball now. Let's talk about Auburn. All I need to say to you is this. Defense is for real and physical. I watched that whole spring game, and it didn't matter if it was the starters or the second string. Attack, attack, attack. That's all they know. So Auburn's defense will be good. Offensively, I didn't see much. But again, Auburn never really shows too much offensively. It's always a defense. Leads me next into the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia. Defense, defense, defense. I mean, damn. You think about the guys that have left this team. The Jordan Davises, the Nolan Smiths, the Nakobe Deans, the Kaylee Ringos, Kwame Lassiter's in the draft this year. There's guys that are leaving this defense that have been tremendous for this team, that have done everything needed plus, and you just naturally figure, Georgia, they're going to fall off a little bit. They'll come back to earth. You're not going to be able to keep all those guys or just keep the talent pool refreshed. And damn it, they keep Kirby Smart. Shout out to you, brother. You keep the talent pool refreshed. Michael Williams, a defensive lineman, phenomenal. He looked great in that spring game. He's going to be a problem. He's going to be a force to reckon with. But again, in the lines of Jordan Davis's and, Jalen Carter's and these guys, this is what they do. This is what Georgia has been doing for the past couple of years. So not a shock there. Trevor Etienne, transfer from Florida, running back now in Georgia. Kind of weird, but it seemed like they were kind of having an open committee for running back. It doesn't seem like Trevor Etienne was literally given the job. It seems like he has to earn it, which again, I'm a football player. I'm a competitor myself. I don't give a damn. You got to compete. That's just the name of the game. That's how you earn your spot. Compete. But with him being a high transfer coming over in the portal, I kind of thought he would have been an automatic starter. Again, he didn't show anything that was alarming or anything to make you go, But again, open competition there. Running back, Dominic Lovett looks like he's going to be the new wide receiver. Looks like offensive coordinator Mike Bobo has found his new Lad McConkey, for lack of better words. Carson Beck, the quarterback. You have to forgive me because I kind of feel like with Georgia, it doesn't really matter. As long as the quarterback's not throwing interceptions or turning the ball over at an alarming rate, it doesn't really matter who's playing the position. I mean, Stetson Bennett, whatever legal situation he's got going on right now, you look at him. He was not an all-world quarterback. He wasn't somebody that you're like, oh, man, this guy, top 10 pick, he's hands down. Damn it, he's good. No. So, Carson Beck, more or less, I'm just saying this. Is he taking the next step or is he just the next game manager on a great team? So, be that as it may. But Georgia, look good again. Leading into LSU Tigers. Very interested to see how LSU responds this coming year. I mean, when you have Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr., all guys are going to be drafted within the first and second round. All three of them are going to be drafted within the first and second round. You tend to kind of forget that their defense was a walking dumpster fire last year. I mean, literally one of the worst defenses in college football. Brian Kelly has gotten away with murder because he had a Heisman quarterback. He had a great offense, but that defense was shit, for lack of better words. That being said, going into it, Garrett Nussmeier, who is the new quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier played great. I mean, mobile, strong arm, Mahomesian-esque, not exactly Mahomes, but, mobile, scrambling, like coming up into the pocket, making laser throws 40 yards down the field. There were a lot of bombs. He scored on all three of his possessions in the spring game. So their offense should definitely be prolific again. I mean, everybody kind of expected with them losing Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. that the offense wouldn't carry over. But again, Brian Kelly, wherever he's been, whether it's been Notre Dame, Cincinnati, his offenses have always been elite. So it's the damn defense that we question. And we need to know if that defense is going to show up again. Be that as it may, their defensive tackle is a place of concern. They have nobody, and you know that they have a history of having defensive tackles and having guys come out and do the job. So them not having a defensive tackle is more of an indictment on Brian Kelly, as I stated. Keep an eye on Brian Kelly. He already had that fake-ass Louisiana accent. Now he's coming out talking about, we need to be more aggressive on defense, and you don't even have a backup quarterback. I know it's spring ball, guys. I know I'm kind of being a little bit more critical than I probably should be. But when you don't have a backup quarterback and you've already assembled most of the roster, yeah. So a lot of work still to be done there in LSU. Penn State. This was probably the most boring damn spring game I had to watch all weekend because they ain't show nothing. And rightfully so. You kind of understand how they're going. James Franklin and the offensive coordinator, they more or less didn't want to show their hand too much. They got a lot of guys returning. They got some new guys in, so they kind of more or less want you to be kept guessing. And I completely understand that. Schematic-wise, it makes complete sense. It makes for a boring-ass game to watch, though. It makes for a boring-ass practice or scrimmage to watch. I mean, definitely. I give ESPN all the credit in the world for trying to spice it up, but it was damn it, I had to kind of wake myself up, rewind it a couple times. What's going on? So, be that as it may. Keandre Lambert-Smith, return receiver from last year, had a team-high 53 catches. Was kind of phased out of the offense last year with offensive coordinator Mike Yurchich's departure. So, James Franklin kind of touched on this vaguely. Not sure if this guy's coming back, which again is a huge loss because if your leading receiver, is not back, you're going to have to obviously replace that production and catches. So we'll see from there. Drew Allar, who's a new quarterback. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I'm trying to be as frank as possible. I never trust Penn State quarterbacks. It's been a long time since they've had even a good one. With Penn State, I always think defense, corner, running back, offensive line. I never think quarterback position. I mean, ever. So Drew Allar seems to be their new guy. Didn't really come away wowed. He had 32 passing attempts, 19 completions. Seems very preseason-ish, so I'm not going to hold that against him too much. But he only had 202 passing yards on 32 attempts. So whether it was vanilla offense or not, I would expect your production to be a little bit better, especially if you're not running anything sexy. You're just, running an offense, but whatever. Be that as it may, now leads me into the Tennessee Volunteers. Nico Ayama, which is the new quarterback, replacing Joe Milton, who was obviously in the draft. Looks good. Very strong arm, very decisive, quick decision maker. Some of the balls kind of lagged a bit, but I think that's kind of spring practice, nerves, new team, new offense. He looked pretty good. The new receivers, Mike Matthews and Chris Basil, looked phenomenal. Or Bazel, excuse me. I said Basil. My apologies for that. Chris Bazel looked phenomenal. Tennessee, with Jalen Hyatt and, I can even remember way back when to the days of Robert Meacham. They've always had a guy, even if it was one, they've always had a guy come out, be serviceable, be sturdy, do the job. Now they got two, so that's definitely a big help for them. Linebacker, Edwin Spillman looks the part. I mean, that boy was all over the damn field. He looks the part. So credit to him. Linebacker Jeremiah Talander, 2 for a loss, 2 sacks. He was all over the field. Looks like he's going to be an impact player for them on defense. And Boo Carter, cornerback / punt returner for them, showed a lot of promise. Played good defense. Recovery skills are great. Special teams, though. That was really the one where it was like, oh, okay, all right, he might show something here. Okay. Leaning next to a rival for Tennessee, the Florida State Gators, one of my personal rivals as well. Graham Mertz, their returning quarterback from last year, showed some promise. Billy Napier is just trying to get this team going. When he took over a couple years ago, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago now, team was pretty much a dumpster fire. Recruitment was down. Weren't really getting a lot of the great guys that they needed to get into, due to Florida State or Central Florida or Alabama or Georgia or whomever within that Southern Panhandle, good football team-wise, grabbing up great young recruitable talent. they weren't in the picture. So Florida, the Gators, they're trying, and I give them credit. Being honest, though, you lost to a backup quarterback last year when you played Florida State. Probably still not good, but, go knows. Anyway, Florida Gators, like I said, Graham Mertz showed a lot of promise in this game. Eugene Trey Wilson, 8 catches, 128 yards. Ricky Parasol obviously is in the draft this year. This is a guy that obviously was waiting in the wings. Very interested to see how he does. Very interested to see where Ricky Parasol falls too. He kind of reminds me of a poor man's Julian Edelman, so we'll see. Maybe a little bit faster, but we'll see. Trevor Etienne obviously is gone. He's no longer there. He's transferred to Georgia, so they got Jaden Ball and Jacoby Jackson as the new running backs. So that's definitely going to be something that's going to be interesting to see as far as the running back position and see how they address that. Ole Miss, spring practice was pretty much flag football practice. It was pretty much a waste of time. I literally could have done so many other things besides watch that game. Continuing out, though, finally, last but not least, was the Alabama Crimson Tide. The Kalen DeBoer era has begun. Nick Saban was pretty much still around. Team lacked a lot of depth. Jalen Milroe looked good. Pretty much still developing the team, but, Roll Tide. Got to give them credit for that. And that'll pretty much be the end of this episode, guys. Episode 2. I thank you so much for listening. Going into our next episode, we'll be reviewing the Los Angeles Chargers and New York Giants. And we'll also be looking at the NBA outlook and playoff predictions. So thank you so much for your time and energy, guys. I love you guys. Take care and enjoy your day. And see you tomorrow.